Hi, everybody. So I guess we're all in breakout session. This is room one. We've got Sarah Cantor here as the presenter. So if you have any questions for her, feel free to speak up, chime in.
I think I need to be put in a breakout room still.
Logan, did you receive an invite?
Um, I I got jumped into one and then my Zoom froze.
Oh,
So I'm back in I think the main room, but I could
so
hear like I was in a breakout room.
mhm.
So can you?
So what I'm seeing is that Krista, try this again. Breakout. So I may have to move you to a different breakout room because I can't move you into breakout room one again. And what
Okay.
I'm showing is the same with Carissa. So Carissa, Logan, and Ding, I guess, are all in the main session right now, along with, so let me move you to breakout room 2 or 3 or,
In one and then I wanted to go to another one and I don't see the possibility to jump from room to room. So my bad for not realizing
yeah.
that was impossible.
Carissa, I think I just sent you to either 2 or 3. Did you get that
Let me
invite the
see.
second time around?
Yes, three. Thank you so much.
Mhm. And Logan, did you get a second invite to another room? I just sent you, I can't remember either to 2 or 3.
I didn't.
You did not. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm going to try for room 5. I just sent you another invite.
And I'm not seeing anything. I did notice that before when I was in, it said presenter next to me and now it doesn't. So I don't know if there are two of me.
Hi, Deb, I've got 926. I don't know where else to send you. Now we have nowhere to send. And I cannot move Sarah back to the main session. I can't bring you back. So let's see. I don't know. Oh, disaster. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Lori. I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know who else is here. Right now, we're doing the breakout sessions. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty. And I don't know if we're automatically assigned to a room when you came in, when I admitted you, or if you are here.
I know I'm in the, this is Kelly, I'm in the main room, but I can always just come back at 3. That's fine.
Okay, because I don't see you under, let me try, I can send you breakout room in the room again. But maybe that worked.
As well. So welcome back after our poster session. Thanks so much again to our presenters for your flexibility. And I'd like to welcome our next speaker, Logan Rath.
Hey Logan, I think you're on mute.
Ah, yes, we don't hear you yet.
There we go. How's
Welcome
that?
in. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So I'm here to talk about the SAMR model and how I use it to rethink library instruction. I work in New York, Rochester, New York. We're actually closer to Niagara Falls than the city, which is a common misconception of New York. Much like California, it's a large state. And I'm about 6 hours of a drive from New York City and about an hour and a half from Niagara Falls. So I also, in addition to being an instruction librarian, I'm getting my doctorate in basically literacy and information literacy. And one of the courses I teach at my institution in our graduate literacy program involves multiliteracies. And technology plays a large role in that. So in doing the reading for that course and looking at the textbook, I came across this SAMR model. And it's also something that I've studied with some colleagues on campus. It's an acronym from Ruben Puentedura, and there are 4 levels of technology use in education, basically. He analyzed how we use technology and came up with this model. It does look hierarchical here, but it's okay to not be at the higher levels because technology use is all about the intention behind it and our instructional objectives. And our instructional objectives may not be something that requires a complete reformulation of the idea. So we start with the lowest level, which is substitution. And substitution is using a technology to do the same thing in the same way. So I try to use non-library examples here. And so that would be like using a whiteboard instead of a chalkboard, because a whiteboard is technology. That's another thing that we don't always think about, that technology does not necessarily mean on a computer. But another analogous thing for substitution is reading PDFs on a screen instead of reading a print article. And then audiobooks instead of print books. So you've got this basic, just same way of doing things, same way you're still accessing that same format. Your PDF is probably not super hypertext for linking between different parts of the article and linking out to other places. Audiobooks you still consume in basically the same way you do a print book. It's pretty much a one-for-one swap. The next level we move to is augmentation. And this is when we use a technology to do the same thing in a better way, but we're still doing the same thing. So PowerPoints with images, we're still presenting information. It's still in a fairly linear format, but I can add images into it. And then email instead of postal mail. It does the same thing in a better way because it's quicker, but it's still basically written correspondence. We're not leaving like video chats for each other in at least my library. We don't do that. We just send a lot of email. Our next level is modification. And this is when you can use the technology to do something different because of that very same technology. So writing, moving to blogging, it looks a little different. You can add links, you can embed images right into it. And then with the reading, the hypertext, moving to something that's hypertext like Wikipedia versus a print encyclopedia, where you've got just this better thing now because of the technology. And then we get to redefinition. And this is the hardest one to just quickly do because it's using technology in a way that is completely different than what was even possible before. So smartphones, think about like when the iPhone came out, how that really redefined what we call a phone. And it redefined what we do on our phones and how we communicate, basically how we live our whole lives. And then for academic librarians, your digital tenure or promotion portfolio with full multimedia content. I know at my institution, when I went up for tenure, I had computer code in my portfolio. And that's not something that works the same way as just printing it out and sticking it in a binder. It does make the binder nice and thick, but it doesn't actually let you use the code and see what it does and why that 100 lines of code was revolutionary. So we start with those 4 levels. And now I'm going to take them into the information literacy classroom and talk about ways that I've done these 4 tasks. With substitution, pull everywhere to ask questions. You know, we're still asking questions. We're just, instead of raising hands, people are pushing a button on a phone or on their computer. Using EBSCO's folder to store articles in the Create My EBSCO account. And then creating a basic screencast video, it's the same thing as standing there and talking. It's just a recorded version of that. Augmentation, and my font moved a little weird here, so I'll fix that for the final version. Using Padlet to brainstorm keywords. This is something I've done with a class. I used the grid view in Padlet. Love Padlet, it's a great tool. And I set up the 3 main keywords that they needed to use at the top, and then had an entire class of 30 students that are all in a computer lab add 1 or 2 synonyms for each of the columns. And because of the grid layout, it locked it under the columns, which was really cool, because then they couldn't just click anywhere or drag each other's around. It worked really well. Another augmentation would be an interactive tutorial with a quiz in it. So Camtasia will allow you to add a quiz in. It's different. It's a little better. There's a functional improvement there because we can check for understanding. And it works really well, especially if you have a long video. And in some software, you can even set it so that if they don't get the question right, they get routed back to something earlier and have to watch that segment again. Modification. This is where we can redesign the task. And Google Docs is a great example of this. So your annotated bibliography in a class, you have groups co-creating documents. They're doing something different than they did before. The analog way of doing that would have been to email everything to one person and have them compile it and email it back out. You've now cut out several of that. Several steps. We also have Digo for bookmarking or annotation. Very different to annotate the web. And then also creating a digital story of one search experience. This is something I've used in an online environment, and it comes out of my literacy training. Instead of just having students submit their reference list, I have them submit a 1-paragraph reflection that tells me how it went. What were the emotions they experienced? What was the story? And I just title it Your Search Story. So they send their 5 references in, if that's what I need them to submit, with a paragraph telling me how it went. I get a lot of feedback that's amazing in there. And it's just not something that I could have done without the technology. Having them put a screenshot in is great. Some of them do it sort of the analog way where they like hold up the phone and take a picture of their screen. Some of them use the snipping tool or Command-Shift-4 on their Mac. And then redefinition. This is the hard one. And I don't always get here. And I had to think really hard when I submitted this presentation. And I said, okay, now I'm saying that this is one of them. I have to give an example. And this would be, creating a class wiki, really creating something that you couldn't do, that was inconceivable before technology. And you could do that in a Google Doc, sure. You could do that in a website, but really like linking around between different things, that's the completely new way of doing things. And then developing interactive group projects where they have to bring in several different types of sources. So maybe more of like a portfolio where they're creating a website as their final project that talks about that. One of the courses I work with is elementary science or social studies educators, and they have to create a content knowledge portfolio where they bring together all of these minority opinions and voices that have maybe been suppressed by the general narrative of what they learned in social studies. And we talk about that what they learned 20 years ago, 15 years ago in the social studies classroom is a little different than what we know now. So let's look and really create these dynamic websites that help students really unpack their adult content knowledge. And it's amazing what the students put into these. So now that I've talked about these different models and the different levels, this is going to be interactive. And we have about 10 minutes left, really 5 if we save room for questions. So what I've done here to sort of think about how we can do this quickly is I have created a Google form, and then I've made the spreadsheet available. And so the links are here. They're not clickable, but hopefully they'll be put in the chat for you. And I'm using a second monitor, so that's why I find myself all the way over here. And I don't quickly see the chat. There we go. And there the links are.
Links
Thank
are
you,
in
Ryan.
the chat. Yeah.
So if we would just take a minute, and actually let's take about 3 minutes and fill this out. So when you go over, and let me stop my screen share. And when you go here, this is the form. I would just like you to choose a level and then choose type in the tool name and a quick description about what it does. And then this will be a resource that we all have going forward. And while everyone does that, I'm going to look at the chat.
Hey, Logan, there's a chat from Terry. They're asking if you could put the prompt back up on the screen whenever you have a second.
Oh, yep. Let's see. So we're over here, and do you mean the reflection prompt or is this enough to have the form and what you're going to do?
Sorry, I'm not too sure. Oh yeah, they
Okay.
said that's enough. They said that's
Okay.
enough, yeah.
And we have someone that loves Digo. Creating a public syllabi, that would be something that's brand new. That would definitely fall under probably modification or augmentation, depending on how you did it. And yes, these results will be shared. That document is going to be linked in the presentation when it gets posted, and it's going to be the same link that you're at right now. And they're just rolling in. A lot of the tools that we've seen earlier today. Someone's using Twitch, which is great. That's an awesome tool. Loom I have not used yet, so that's great that there's another tool that I can add to my toolbox. And APA Academic Writer, I've heard great things about it. We don't have it yet, but I'm really interested in learning more about that one.
Five minutes remaining.
Okay. So at this time, I'd like to just open it up if there are any questions.
We do have a question. Somebody had asked, it's from Megan Bell. Can you tell me more about digital storytelling of search experience, and how is it possible now and was not possible before?
Yeah, so the digital part of the thing that's newly possible because of technology is to create like a photo story. That's really the step. One of the things I do with this is I have them take a selfie in the stacks when I work with the elementary educators that they need to get to a children's library collection. We have one in our building. They can also go to the school where they have a placement. And I can have them show their emotion through a photo and really take advantage of what the visual mode allows that the written word doesn't. Or they can create like a quick Adobe Spark story if that's what speaks to them. It's really, here's what you have to do and here's a list of ways you can do it.
Another question that came up is, who is using H5p? I've looked, but haven't jumped in. I don't know if that's really a question for the presenter exactly.
Yeah, I have not used it.
Okay.
Logan, how long will this survey be open to accept responses?
I have no plans on closing it anytime soon.
Awesome. So if we think of things later today, tomorrow, we might add.
Definitely. Or if you want to share it with colleagues at your library and have them add to it, that would be great.
Very cool. Thank you.
And just to illuminate Sam Harlow's post in the chat, they're using H5p and shared their email address for those interested. We have about 3 minutes left. Are there any remaining questions?
Just want to say thanks for this really interesting thought model of looking at technology. I think it's going to be applicable to a lot of things that we do.
Yeah, and that's what I found is that using models, there's another model out there if you're really hardcore into instructional models with education called Tpac, the Technology, Pedagogy, Content, Knowledge Framework. And there's so much written on that. And it's actually a three-way Venn diagram that just gives you a lot of food for thought.
Thank you. Well, if anyone thinks of more questions or wants to add to that form, please do. Thanks, Logan.
And then I just typed no, that did not go to everyone. I'm going to type my email in the chat so that if questions do come up when people are looking at the transcript, you can send me a note.
Excellent. We will take 5 and then I'll welcome our next presenter. Oh yes, thank you so much, Jennifer, for the reminder. Jennifer has just put a link in the chat to our evaluation survey. So we'd love to hear your feedback on this event and help us make next year even better. She's not really invited, but she's been being good so far. So I know a lot of us have new coworkers in like these last couple months.
This is my helper.
Oh, yes.
Her name is Shotzi.
Oh, I like her.
I have a pug too, but he's too fat to pick up.
Too fat to participate today. That's my mood as well. All right, just a minute and we're gonna, oh yes, Esther has some big puppies too that maybe don't fit on camera. We're gonna welcome our next presenter in 1 minute. And thanks those of you who have shared pictures on the Padlet. It's really nice to see faces, get to know people. Sylvia, I loved your sword. That was so cool.
Thank you. That was a prop for the photo. It's a friend of mine and I, we decided to have our Viking photos made, which was really nice because she passed away less than a year after that. And we have photos now that I can remember her with. So that was a great experience.
Wow, that's special. All right, everyone. I'm pleased to welcome our next presenter, Samantha Harlow. And this presentation was also put together with Jenny Dale, and Sam will be presenting on behalf of both of them. Welcome.
Okay, can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Let me grab this link. Throw it in the chat. We'll get started. So I am talking on behalf of Jenny Dale on a project we worked on together on peer professional development at a distance, where we created a virtual learning community for all library employees. So I dropped the link to this presentation in the chat. So there it is. And I will check on the chat periodically. But I timed this presentation earlier and realized I was a little short. So I thought we'd start with an activity to kind of see what kind of professional development opportunities us as information literacy professionals have been participating in and what we've liked about them during the pandemic. So if everyone either on their phone or their computer could go to www.menti.com and put in this code 437153. And leave it up for a second as people decide to go into it. But I'm asking a question about what things you've seen during the pandemic, professional development opportunities, and what you've liked about them. So www.menti.com 437153. Here it is. So yeah, people are saying this conference. Yes. Someone said LOX. Yes, that was a good one. Diversity trainings fail. It really highlights it. Sorry. Why distance for staff and institutional change. Yes, so someone's talking about this idea of looking at the institution, thinking through EDI. People are talking about EDI stuff, Workplace Equity Symposium. I went to that one too. Someone mentioned a book club. So to read and chat virtually. So people are talking about interaction, Zoom interactive sessions. Someone said focus web conferences with breakout rooms. I know that this conference did that. It was great. So online learning and development sessions offered by librarians at my own institution. Great, that's what we're gonna be talking about today. Learning about stuff for your job, APA, the ACRL virtual poster sessions, ALA virtual, conferences, the NASIC conference, great. So there's a lot of things. So a lot of people are talking about how they've been to these virtual conferences during the pandemic, and they're talking about this idea of connection, right? Kind of thinking through how you're learning about your job. People are talking about breakout rooms. People are talking about community, right? Learning about something like EDI, and how to better your workplace. So this is great. So cool. I just wanted to see where we were all at. Okay, so who are we who got involved with creating a virtual learning community at Uncg Libraries? Uncg is a mid-sized public university in the middle of North Carolina, and Jenny Dale is really the brains behind this operation, and she couldn't be here today. Her pronouns are she, her, and Jenny came up with this project as a way to build community and to reduce anxiety for colleagues who are looking for remote work opportunities. She serves as the project manager. And I'm Sam Harlow. I'm the online learning librarian. I'm also a liaison to some health science departments here at UNCG. So I was brought onto this project based on my experience with virtual trainings and also logistics of these kind of virtual events. So we have, just to give you a context of where we are at in terms of being an academic library staffed with many different people, we've been doing internal training and professional development for years. So, but to different audiences, right? Where it just depended on your job and if you did instruction or if you did assessment and all these different things. So we have a structure in place to look at library instructional technology training in the summer, so where we do sessions on different instructional tech tools. We have Canvas as our learning management system. So we do stuff on that, on Google Apps, on, again, what the last presenter was talking about in terms of instructional technology design, SAMR, all the different kinds of things, all about how you can enhance your presence online. We've also done a session on Summer of Assessment where we talked about different assessment strategies on information literacy and a lot more. If you're interested in learning about these kind of internal peer professional development trainings, you can look at this presentation that Jenny and Maggie and I did at the NCLA, North Carolina Library Association Biennial Conference in 2019. So looking at this context as well, of course, in spring 2020, like many of us in this virtual room, we went online. Around March 23rd, all the courses moved online, and then many library employees shifted to remote work in mid-March. The library was not open to the public, so really all of our librarians were moved to online work. And part of that was also that we are and we're under stay-at-home orders. We're currently in North Carolina in phase 2, safer at home, and we just opened up about 3 weeks ago with limited hours. We're open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Our time. And then many UNCG librarians will be working from the home in fall 2020 as well. So we were looking for a way to kind of create a virtual learning community. So what is this project? This is quoted from the original proposal that was sent to our dean, and that was written by Jenny Dale. But as the university's response to COVID-19 continues to evolve, it is prudent and necessary to consider options for university libraries employees to work entirely remotely. With that in mind, I would like to propose a new internal professional development initiative that I will refer to as the University Libraries Virtual Learning Community, and we call it ULVLC. So what this is that we draw on the significant experience of colleagues to plan a slate of online presentations and discussion forums in which university libraries employees can virtually present or lead sessions. Employees can present on projects within their departments, on research projects, on things they've learned at other professional development settings, on things they would have presented at conferences that got canceled, or just areas of interest that are library related. So what happened to get started is that this proposal was sent to our dean in mid-March, and then a couple days later, there was a discussion at a virtual all personnel meeting for our library. There was an interest form sent out through Google Forms on presenting and participating in sessions. And then there was a virtual meeting between Jenny and I to start a workflow detailed on the next slide. So we created a LibGuide, you know, I'm a librarian, we love LibGuides, and a Canvas organization in order to house the stuff. So we did both in case people wanted to do to offer people multiple platforms in which to present, whether it was a virtual session like the way we're doing now through Zoom, or through a discussion through the learning management system. We wanted to give people multiple ways to communicate and to engage people this way. We then worked on scheduling hosts and then picking a virtual platform, which again, like I said, we decided to go with many things. We offered people to do panels, book clubs, LMS discussions, again, whatever they like in terms of how they thought they wanted to run it for our group of librarians. And then we had them schedule it, and we scheduled a practice session if necessary. Now that we're like months into this workflow, we don't typically always do practice sessions because people are pretty familiar with Zoom at this point. So we shared a Google folder that included basically all of our workflow, which included a Google Doc of email templates to send out to hosts and signups. A sign-up form that was used, a Google form where people could sign up for sessions, a script for live sessions to keep the moderator on track, and then recording files and an assessment form. So then what did we do? We moderated the sessions. We always have a moderator, typically to how this conference or many of the conferences that you're talking about in the Menti are run. So we introduce the host, we record the session, we help moderate the chat, and we help with tech issues. At first we were scheduling about one a day to gain momentum. It was a lot. We were doing a ton of sessions. And now we're typically doing about 2 to 3 sessions per week, depending on the interest level and the host. So we record all of the sessions if applicable. Sometimes, depending on the content of the session, we've done a lot of EDI. We're doing currently an anti-racist reading group. We don't always record those sessions in order to make people feel safe to talk openly about any issues they might face within the library. If applicable, we put it on YouTube, the MP4 file, and that is where it's closed caption. We actually use a tool within our learning management system, Canvas Studio, to create the closed caption files of all of them. We then embed the YouTube video and any relevant materials into that LibGuide where we house all of our stuff. So we have a Google form that we send out about each session, and here are the questions we ask. Basically, do you like the format? Did it meet your expectations? How was the presentation style? And do they have any feedback for the presenters in order to improve? Did you have any technical difficulties? And do you have any other suggestions or comments? So we send this out each time, and we've had actually a really high attendance rate, a really high attendance rate in the sessions, but not as high in terms of always filling out the assessment form. You know, people get tired, don't always want to fill it out, but the people who have filled it out have been very satisfied. As you see, with the Likert scale, the 5 was very much exceeded expectations. So here are some quotes about the series, because it's been pretty overwhelmingly positive. Great series, love the topics. It was really critical for me during this time. I can't always make it live, so I'm thankful for the recordings and so on. So here's the LibGuide. I'm gonna take us all out into it. But here's what it looks like. And y'all, it's an open LibGuide, so y'all are welcome to look at these, and if things are relevant, you can watch the recordings. This is an internal training, so we would ask that you not sign up. If you sign up, we'll have to probably delete your email address because we're only accepting Uncg email addresses right now. But here it is, and you can see we have a public-facing Google Calendar where you go, where you can see what we've done as well as what's coming up. So you can see at the very beginning of this, pandemic, like if we look back when it started in March, see, we were doing one a day, lots of sessions. We even had a bonus session in here. But you can see the variety of topics that were discussed. We have digital projects from our archives, algorithms of oppression, visual thinking and strategies. Let's talk about visual literacy, scholarly communication basics, and so on. I'm doing a session tomorrow with our metadata coordinator on copyright. You can see we had stuff of a Python working group to learn more about that. We have an anti-racist book club that meets periodically about every other week. We have reflective practice, again, just a wide variety of things. It's not just about instruction. It's not just about one topic. It's really anything. Here's one on lobsters, free kittens, and mods with David Gwynn and Tiffany Henry. So this was about our content DM migration. I just love that title. So anyway, that's kind of the basics of the calendar. If you're interested, you go to the sign up form, which like I said is a Google form. You can also read the original proposal and then fill out a form to tell us you're interested in presenting. So you can see we archive the sessions based on the dates in order to be able to embed them. So you can see here the recordings, if they're open and we feel good about it, we put them on here and it's fine. So you can again kind of see the variety of the stuff we're providing. So conclusion so far, this is an ongoing project, but our current conclusion is that the learning community is active and has been well received. So as of July 15th, when we made this presentation, we have held over 50 sessions, but again, there's been, I think about 5 since even that date. So for all the session schedules, we had a total of over 900 individual registrations. So we have about 100 employees in our library. And again, it's only open for library employees right now. We haven't opened it up to the larger UNCG community, but that means that people are signing up. They're signing up for multiple sessions and they actually come. They don't just watch the recordings, but sometimes they do if they can't come to the live session. So future plans is that we've received positive feedback from participants and support from the libraries led to a recommendation to keep this project going till at least December 2020. Due to workload concerns when classes ramp back up in the fall 2020, we're considering forming an ad hoc ULVLC committee to distribute the workload a bit while keeping the series going. Right now, Jenny is doing the majority of the work, our information literacy coordinator, because this was her idea. This is really a passion of hers. And again, I just really help with the logistics. I step in and moderate a lot when she can't be there, that kind of thing. But it's a lot to take on for one person. So I think this committee will be useful. And that's it. Here's Jenny's email address and my email address, but this is an ongoing and recurring project. So we definitely welcome your feedback, questions, concerns, anything that you would like to let us know.
Thank you so much. We have some questions in the forum. I'm pretty sure this one got answered by you just now regarding were your sessions limited to library staff or were they available to other UNC staff? And I think you said it was library staff at this point.
Yeah, and we have actually, sometimes we let in LIS students, depending on the topic and depending on the interest. We have an LIS program here at UNCG. But that's kind of like more of like moderators decide if it's the right audience, if it's the right thing or not.
Another question we got is, did the librarian do did librarians do all these sessions, or did you partner with other faculty and staff at your university?
Yeah, great question. So when I'm talking about librarians at UNCG libraries, there's about 100 of us, and these are done by a variety of them. So some of us do have faculty status here, but these are done by staff, faculty, etc. But it is only library employees. Yeah, we've never had someone from the outside. So there are other UNCG virtual professional development opportunities outside of this like virtual peer internal training. I provide, as the online learning librarian, I do 2 webinar series, one about online learning and innovation, and one about research and applications, where we do partner with faculty, and we also partner with instructional technology consultants to talk about those 2 things They're actually 30 minutes. We're pretty strict about the time. They're recorded and they're kind of done in a similar way. That's part of the reason why I was brought onto this project. I've been running series like that with faculty for about 3 or 4 years now. And there's other things that like our UTLC puts on, things like that. So again, this is again a more internal thing, and it's a more way for us to build community as well as learn from each other. We have gotten requests from especially LIS faculty and lecturers to kind of join, but again, because of the content, because of like the safe space, we are keeping it internal for now.
Another question that came up is, how is presenter participation? Do folks consistently want to share and present? Is this a part of your merit or tenure for incentive?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, so far we've had no issues getting people to present. We do, like I say, have faculty status at UNCG. Some of us do. And so, you know, the way our faculty like promotion and tenure process works is that you can count this as instruction and as professional development opportunities, service. You can kind of put it in a lot of different places. And I think again, because of all the canceled conferences, you know, y'all were great and like have this online, but some conferences were just like, nope, we're done. We're really encouraging people to say like, oh, you were going to present there, or maybe you want to test it out with this smaller audience. We do it that way. So we've had no issues. Like I'm doing a copyright one tomorrow, again, with my colleague in technical services. And that came about because we were getting a lot of copyright questions with online learning. And we were like, let's just do a ULVLC session and kind of just get it all out there. And we can have it be conversation based and like make it clear we're not lawyers, but that, you know, we can kind of go through together what we know. And so things like that are popping up often because of working from home, because of the shift to online learning, and this desire to learn, this desire to share your research when you can't be traveling to places to present it. So we haven't had any issues so far. Again, we've scaled back. We're only doing about 2 a week based on interest, but again, it hasn't really dried up yet. And if it does, we probably just kind of shift and think about you know, doing less, you know, 1 per week or, you know, every other week or whatever.
We have about 45 seconds left. And there's
Sorry.
one question. I don't know if we'll be able to get through it, but how do you decide what presentations to host?
So basically anyone who wants to do one internally in the library gets accepted. So if you come to us and say like, hey, I have this idea to do one on content DM, we're like, sounds great. How do you want to do it? You want to do a discussion, you want to do breakout rooms, and that's about it. So again, it started out where we had that Google form that's on the LibGuide. You can fill that out, but because it's internal, typically people just email Jenny because, you know, she's really in charge of this whole thing, and they say, I have an idea. And then sometimes we will or she will have to kind of go back and forth and be like, let's think through this, like, you know, about a title and things like that. But typically it comes together pretty quickly.
Thank you so much. We're out of time now, so I'll hand it back to Claire.
Great. Thanks very much, Sam. I think it's so important that professional development opportunities keep happening, especially right now. So thanks for doing that work. We will take another 5 minutes, and coming back from that, we'll have 2 more final lightning talk presenters. Have a brief correction to the original program, although it's right on the website now. You may, if anybody printed or saved an earlier version, the lightning talk speaker Bria Sinote was not able to join us today, so the program will run a little bit less, it'll adjourn a little earlier than 3. Thanks. All right, getting ready for more lightning talks. I'm happy to welcome Michelle Spagna and Lee Howick.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. I'm going to share my screen in just a second. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, although right now, yes, we can.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Michelle, and today me and my colleague Lee will be discussing how the Reference and Instruction Department at the Red Rocks Community College Library uses digital tools, specifically learning facilitation platforms, to assist in our virtual library instruction sessions. And we're located in Lakewood, Colorado. That's the Denver metro area. To start off with the background of our library, the RRCC library does have 4 librarians. That includes 1 instruction librarian and additionally 2 graduate assistants, which are students who are enrolled in MLIS program, which is what Lee and I are. The services we offer at RRCC are instruction sessions where we teach a basic library orientation, information literacy, and research skills. We provide one-on-one 20-minute research consultations that we call Book a Librarian. Our reference model is a walk-up reference since we only have a circulation desk in our library. We offer virtual reference, which is through email, and we have a 24/7 chat service on our website. And lastly, we do embedded librarianship, which is mostly through some ESL classes that we have at the college. Annually, we have about an average of 44 instruction sessions, so that's including fall, spring, and summer semesters. After each instruction sessions, we do have students fill out an assessment. This gives us a better understanding of what the students are learning about the library and some things that we can improve on. With that said, the week of March 26, 2020, RRCC and the rest of the Colorado Community College system moved to a fully remote classroom setting. This left us trying to figure out how to continue to support our faculty and students fully online. We've already had virtual options for our research consultations, but nothing for our instruction sessions. And we still had scheduled instruction sessions for the rest of the semester. So we had to move those fully online and deal with everything that kind of goes along with that. The 2 viable options we had for our instruction sessions ended up being either a recorded session or a virtual session. The recorded ones would be just posted on D2L, which is our learning management software. And then the second option being us attending a virtual class and then teaching via WebEx. So after figuring that out, our next obstacle was seeing how we would conduct our after class assessments and our in-class activities virtually while still keeping those students engaged. We've used Google Forms before for surveys, but we really wanted something to promote active engagement and the students could fill out in class. We were introduced to the software Socrative by a professor during one of our instruction sessions, and that professor ended up using Socrative in lieu of our own paper assessments that we do at the end. And then we learned about Mentimeter after seeing it used in a presentation. So these are the 2 platforms that Lee and I are going to be discussing today. But just keep in mind that there are free versions, but there's also subscription versions for both of these platforms. So there will be limitations when it comes to the free versions. So we wanted to use either of these platforms in our sessions to bring our in-class activity and our assessment tools from a paper to a digital version. So that, like I said before, ensuring that students are paying attention, retaining the information that's being taught to them, but also on our end, having the responses downloaded as a cohesive data set, since that's the reason why we do these assessments. We get the results in real time, which a lot of survey platforms really don't have an option for. What's really great about these is the students can stay anonymous, and it removes the obstacle of students needing to set up an account or anything like that. They just go to a web page. So before going right into the two platforms, we want to talk about why active engagement is so important. Two examples come from publications, one in 2014 and one in 2019. Sarah Rose Kavanaugh published an article titled How to Make Your Teaching More Engaging in the Chronicle of Higher Ed in 2019. And she states, to engage your students most effectively, you should, whenever possible, try to involve them in their own learning. And published in 2014, when looking at STEM students, researchers found that students in traditional lectures are 1.5 times more likely to fail than the students engaged in active learning. Also, active learning engaged in students did outperform their lecture-based peers on the same exams. So we're gonna start with Socrative. To jump into it, I wanna kind of showcase how the teachers and the students portions of the platform are gonna be different. So what we're seeing right now is like the student login, but on the educator or the teacher side, you create an account and that's where you create and maintain your assessment, polls, you can do on-the-fly questions and more. The students simply just have to have an internet connection to a mobile device or a computer. They can go to the website that's seen on the bottom of this slide, so right down here. And so they would go there, they would type in the room name, which is created by the educator. So our main one is RRCC Library. They click that and they join.
5 minutes remaining.
Thank you. And whichever assessment, question, and game is already launched by the instructor is what they're gonna see. This is actually an example for one of the questions that we ask in our assessment. So this is right after a basic instruction session. We do have two versions. We have a long assessment, a short assessment. The short one's only 7 questions. They kind of go through it. And then the next polling, this is actually an example for the in-class activity. In this activity that we do in our instruction session, we have students search a topic in Google. Then we also have them search the same topic in a designated library databases or 2 databases, and we have them compare the 2 results. This is where the active learning and engagement comes in because they're doing it live right in front of you, and you can see what they're doing. You can see they're submitting as they are. And then on the educator side, like I said, you see the quiz results gathered live. So the free version of Socrative allows for 10 questions per quiz. So for this quiz, you can see right here, it says like 2 out of 10. That's the most you can do for the free version. Questions are structured in several ways. So you could do multiple choice, true or false, short answer. And then with virtual instruction now being the norm with COVID and everything, it's a really great way to gather valid assessment data to gauge your own success, measure understanding with the students, and then gain anonymous feedback from the students.
All right.
So I'm gonna pass off to Lee.
Hi everybody, my name is Lee Howick, and I'm gonna talk about using Mentimeter for a tool to engage students in digital instruction sessions. So Mentimeter is a great tool to check for understanding as well, to take a quick read on a class to see if people are following, and also just to get students to quickly engage, put in some input into their learning. So much like Socrative, teachers and students use a different aspect of the platform. Polls and slides can be created by teachers under a personal account. And then once these polls and slides are activated to collect response data, students can enter a code, like a unique code that the program gives you, and enter it into a web browser. And yeah, I just wanted to say thanks to the last presenter, Sam. She basically gave a perfect demonstration of what I'm talking about here. So that was convenient. So yeah, basically like we all just did with that last poll, students enter a code into the web browser, log in, and they're able to access the question that the instructor wants them to answer. So right here, we're looking at an example of a potential student view answer page. And the great part about Mentimeter is there's a variety of question type options. So you could give students a multiple choice poll, an open-ended answer. You could have them do ranking and scaled answers. And an awesome part about Mentimeter is there's no limit on how many individual students can answer your one question. So you can cap student answers. So you could have students give like 3 answers or 2 answers if you wanted to on an open-ended question. But yeah, another great part too is you can also use a profanity filter. So to ensure that you're not collecting like undesirable answers that you really wouldn't want to broadcast to a whole class. So that's a great part about it as well. Yeah, so Mentimeter collects student responses and then visualizes them for you. So this is great because this could be a useful tool in a full class discussion. You could pose a question to the class, have students answer the question, and then use the visualization to host a discussion about why students think the way that they do or what they think. You could also use this as kind of a class pacing tool to build a consensus on, are we going too fast? Do we need to slow down, etc. Really just to get students engaged in how the class is going. Or you could just use it as a basic assessment tool to see if students are understanding. So what we're looking at right now is probably one of the cooler options. I really love word cloud. So yeah, you can create a word cloud with student responses based on a question that you pose. So another example of something cool that you could do is create a multiple choice poll. So again, you could you know, pose a question, check in with how students are doing, any of that. And circled in this slide, you'll see the code. And basically, again, that's that unique identifier with the presentation, and that's how the students can find it. So why do we like using Mentimeter? It's like I said, it's got a variety of quick polling options, which is cool. Multiple choice word clouds, open-ended response, scales, ranking, 2x2 grids, and Q&A. And also the program offers the option to make purely content-based slides, kind of like, you know, a PowerPoint or something else. Like I said, it's got limitless student votes. So regardless of your class size or participating audience, you can have everyone answer your poll, and you can see those live poll results in class.
Lee, sorry to interrupt you, but your time has run out. So if you have any, you want to wrap up the final thoughts that you have.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, so yeah, just Socrative and Mentimeter are awesome tools to use. You know, to check for understanding and to do assessment. And yeah, we ran out of time, but we would love to answer any specific questions that anyone has about these programs. So we'll put our emails in the chat, and yeah, thanks a lot.
And I'll piggyback off that real quick. Everything that's on this last page in the PowerPoint is essentially, it breaks up the best things about Mentimeter and the best things about Socrative. So we don't even have to say it, it's right there. But yeah, Lee and I will put our emails in the chat if you guys have any direct questions for us. But yeah, thank you for letting us share.
Thanks so much, Michelle and Lee. This is really useful to see a comparison of these tools. We'll have a couple minutes break and then welcome our last presenter. All right, folks, could we please get an aloha in the chat? Because our last presenter of the day is coming to us all the way from Hawaii. I'm happy to welcome Zoya Falevai.
Thank you, Claire. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Well, no pressure there. I'm the last presenter. Well, thank you
I
for
did
the
that
opportunity.
because of the time difference.
The time.
Thank you for being.
Oh, it's only 11 o'clock, so it's perfect for me. Well, welcome. My name is Zoya Falivai, and I'm a library instruction and reference librarian at Brigham Young University, Hawaii. And thank you for holding this conference. I've learned a lot of great things. So my presentation today is using Google tools to enhance library instruction. And I've seen some of you mention that you do use Google tools or, you know, Google spreadsheet, form, docs in your instruction. So it's nothing new. I just wanted to share what we're doing in our library that we've found effective and works for us. So if you could, I know Claire posted in the chat, she put the survey there. Could you fill that survey in for me? And I will share the results with you after the conference. So it's just, do you use Google tools and how do you use them in your instruction? So let's see. So we recently changed our approach to our library instruction. Before we had like a worksheet and we had students watch a online tutorial, and it was not effective at all. Most of the time it was busy work, rushed work. So we changed it so it can be more effective and meaningful to our students and to us as well. So we created these we have an instruction menu where the instructors will select skills and knowledge that they would like us to teach. Because we're not gonna, this is only for our, you know, one-shot workshops. So we have a basic research tutorial that we require the students to do before they come to the library at least 1 week in advance. And also we have an advanced research tutorial. And these are the basic research tutorial. These are just introductory, you know, information on how to use the library, what is a scholarly journal article, how do you evaluate a source. Because when they come to us in the face-to-face instructional time, we want to focus on what they really need to work on. Majority of the instruction that we get, I'm pretty sure you guys get these too, is to help students find and locate sources, relevant sources for their research. So we want to spend most of the time on the hands-on activity. And so that's where, that's why we changed our instruction. So when they do the basic research tutorial, they come to us, we just get to the main point and get straight to what they need to accomplish their research assignment. So we use Google Docs for this workshop. So again, I know Logan mentioned it for the SAMR presentation, and also Wei Chan in her presentation, and some I've seen on the survey that Logan did that most of you use Google tools, and this is why I needed to find a tool that will be helpful and meaningful in teaching these workshops. So I can monitor what the students are doing in real time, so I can collaborate with them, assist and help them. And why Google Drive is because it's free. Everybody knows it. Everybody has a Google account. You can share, you can edit, and it's there forever, I think. So here are some examples. So here's an Hawaiian Studies assignment. So again, like I said, the majority of the workshops we get are helping students to find and locate sources for their research. So during the workshop, I will have the students share their Google Docs with me. So they have to share with me and make sure that I can edit. I demonstrate, you know, do other things, library catalog, databases, how to search, and all the fun stuff in information literacy. And then I give students enough time to locate their sources and copy and paste the citation of their sources in their Google Docs. So from the teacher's workstation, I do project the Google Drive up on the projector for everyone to see. And then I start making students, so if there's 20 students in the class, I make sure I have 20 Google Docs. So I open one document at a time, thanks. I open one document at a time and go through their work. And this is all projected on the main projector. And I would stop if there's an issue or something that will benefit the whole class that I see on that Google Docs. I would stop the class and point out that issue and how to resolve it or how it will help with the assignment. Usually the students are busy with their own work, so the person or group that I'm working with will pay attention to me. So this helps with like, you know, the different levels of understanding. So, you know, students who have done this before can just do other work. Students that are, you know, this is something new to them, I can, you know, spend more time with them. How do I collaborate with the students and how do I monitor? I look at their topics, I look at their subtopics, and I look at the sources that they provide. So here's another example of a group activity. And then if I see a source that does not belong there, I will make that comment. I will help them find a better source. If there's, for example, a student put in a book review thinking that was a scholarly journal article, that was a teaching moment. I made sure she knew what it was and then found a better article for her to use. And if I see, like I said, if I see a student struggling, I would spend more time on that student. So after the workshop, this is the reason why this is very important to me, is because I can use this after the workshop. Because students will email me for help, you know, more help after the workshop. And so I will put the information in their Google Docs. If they need to make an appointment, anything that we find, so if make an appointment after the workshop, anything that we will find, we will put it on the Google Docs. And if I find a useful source and I remember, because there's a lot of them, if I remember, I will go back to their Google Docs and put it in there. So it's a great tool for, you know, us to collaborate with the students even after the library workshop, because we only have 50 minutes with them or 45. So this will help me beyond the workshop. So as a librarian, I can monitor, I can collaborate, I can support, I can follow up. I also work with their instructor. If they need more help, I will share the Google Docs with the instructor, and it can be an assessment tool to see if they're learning and if they understand. The students, they're engaged, they're applying the concepts that we teach them, they're creating like their annotated bibliography, they're creating the assignment, they're selecting and they're evaluating, because the sources I see in real time or after, I can see that it's relevant to their topic. So, the previous presentation, you know, they mentioned the active engagement part, and this is why I like using Google Docs, because of that active engagement aspect. Okay, so lessons learned: do not assume everybody knows how to use Google Docs. The prioritization of time, and who do I spend more time on, and if finding a relevant source, does that equal understanding how to find sources? But this has been working for us, and I wanted to share that with you during this conference. Okay, that's all I have. Any questions?
There is one about adapting this for an online learning environment that was brought up in the chat. Thank you.
Yes, so during the spring semester when everything was online, I did a synchronous library instruction. I had the students do the same thing, share your Google Docs. And while I was teaching and we were working on doing a hands-on virtually, the students were putting their information in Google Docs, and I was able to view that during this synchronous activity. So yes, it works for the online, and because I taught the class this spring, and I was able to do the same thing as if it was face to face.
Mahalo, Zoya, for joining us. And thank you again to all of our presenters today. We really appreciate that you're sharing your time with us freely and your experience and just, helping us improve our instruction. I'm going to share, if I can pull it up really quick, one ending slide for our evaluations. And I also really want to thank, let me see, sorry, I'm close this window. All right. Here we go. So this bit.ly is for conference feedback, as well as a question on there about the Lilly listserv and how you'd like to participate in Lilly going forward, especially for those of you outside California. We'd love to hear from you. I'd also really like to take another moment to thank the amazing Lilly board this year. This really is always a committee effort. When somebody nudged me to be chair, I was like, who, me? But you really do not need expertise in conference planning. We do everything as a team, so think about it for the future. But thank you so much to our future chair, Eva Rios Alvarado, to Mary McMillan, Esther Gracian, Liz Cheney, Jennifer Silverman. Also, thank you for timekeeping today, Jennifer. Michael Habata, Marcia Henry, Caroline Coward, Annie Knight. I believe you weren't even on the board and I pulled you in because I just didn't want to do it without you. And Diego Coahuila, he's our student rep, and that's a fairly new position that we've had in Lilly. As well as thank you so much again to our web committee team, Ding, Angela, Ryan, Jonathan, Tim. We again just really appreciate you being here, and please make sure to fill out our survey. For those of you still here, I forgot to mention that the slides are already available. Thanks so much, Ding, for that. Please check out the Lilly website.